Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Some things are up like $2 or $3.
Inflation soars once again. What's being hit this time and what Canadians are doing differently to cope.
And we thought we had it right. Clearly, we did not.
Canceling a controversial rebuild. Why the Royal BC Museum is no longer getting an $800 million facelift. Plus, desperate for a passport. The frustration and long wait times pushing some people to take extraordinary measures.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. After months of rising prices, more tough news tonight for British Columbians feeling the squeeze. And financial experts warn it could get even worse. Here's the big picture. In the month of May, inflation hit 7.7%. That's the highest it's been since 1983. And that means Canadians under 40 have never lived through increases like this before. And if you think that national average is high, it's even worse here in BC. That has many people here hoping for stopgaps from the province. But Michelle Gassoub is looking at the warnings and what's ahead.
If a national inflation rate of 7.7% sounds high to you, well, BC's Consumer Price Index is 8.1%. It's the fifth highest in Canada, and consumers are feeling it.
I don't like to buy cheap food because I always eat good food, okay? But right now, I'm watching what I'm buying, I'm watching what I'm cooking. I'm hoping that things will normalize soon. I'm hoping that the government will help more.
This man runs a convenience store. His cart is piled high with yogurt, ice cream, and chips, all items that cost more, and he'll pass those costs on to his own customers.
Maybe tobacco going up, right? So I raise the tobacco price. I don't have any option because I want to run a store, right?
Compared to this time last year, food prices are up 8.8%, gas up 48%, transportation costs up 14.6%. Those hoping for government intervention will be waiting a while.
I don't think people want us to be knee-jerk about this. We want to be thoughtful. We want to make sure. Some have argued, some economists argue that too much stimulus into the hands of people will be inflationary. Others are concerned about stagflation. I'm concerned about both of those things.
The federal government says inflation is being driven by supply chain issues, China's COVID-0 policy, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But experts say those aren't the only reasons.
It's the packaging cost. It's the labor costs that are rising. It's the shortages of labor that have to get passed on with overtime. It's all these other costs are squeezing the already tight margins.
With those problems not going away anytime soon, consumers can expect to see prices continue to rise. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
Turning now to that controversial rebuild of the Royal BC Museum. Premier John Horgan today admitting it was the wrong call. He's now suspending the nearly $800 million project. As Isabel Regam reports, some say that's the right move.
And we thought we had it right. Clearly, we did not.
It's a nearly $800 million rebuild that would shut down the Royal BC Museum for more than 7 years. Now it's a plan that's being shelved instead.
I've heard the people of British Columbia quite clearly that we were making the wrong decision at the wrong time.
Last month, the government released thousands of pages of documents supporting its decision to build a new museum, saying it was the best plan considering renovating and repairing the current building would cost $300 million more than a complete replacement. That decision received backlash, with an Angus Reid poll showing that out of 615 people, 69% opposed the project.
This is no leadership moment. This is a result of a bad poll that has caused the Premier to now do some backpedaling, and he's passed the buck over to the museum board and said that they're going to undertake a public consultation. But my concern is that he's already sculpting what that might look like.
We've known that this project has been very, very unpopular right from day one. Receiving emails from constituents.
The Tsaisot First Nation based on Vancouver Island wrote an open letter calling on the province to instead work on returning artifacts to First Nations and helping them build their own museums and cultural centers, adding that little to no consultation had been done with its members.
I applaud Premier Horgan for his political courage and integrity to listen to the voice of British Columbians and reverse his decision.
The Premier maintains the building is not seismically safe and some type of upgrade is required in the coming years.
Is the location the only location for a museum? Will we decentralize, whether we stimulate more activity in rural areas and taking some of these artifacts and returning them to the territories where they came from, whether they're Indigenous or otherwise?
But he says a new plan will be developed after a new round of consultations. Isabel Regam, CBC News, Vancouver.
4 years after it was purchased by the federal government, a new report shows Ottawa is losing money on the Trans Mountain pipeline, with the expansion's net present value pegged at negative $600 million. The report from the Independent Parliamentary Budget Officer blames the losses on construction, delays, and ballooning costs, which have nearly tripled. The expansion is set to begin operations in late 2023, 9 months later than scheduled. The federal finance minister says analysis from TD and BMO show the project is still commercially viable. She says it's still in the national interest. And Wet'suwet'en members are suing police and Coastal GasLink for what they're calling a campaign of targeted harassment. The suit is filed against the RCMP, BC's Minister of Justice, Coastal GasLink, and the private security contractor Forsyth. The lawsuit claims that for months, police and security personnel attempted to coerce Wet'suwet'en people out of homes and villages on unceded Wet'suwet'en territory. Members of the nation say they've been followed, surveyed, and intimidated since February.
There's quite a stark contrast from enforcing an injunction and being on the territory for a specific legal reason and engaging in the kinds of behavior that they have on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last over 3 months now.
The suit calls for an end to the harassment and intimidation of Wet'suwet'en people and for the RCMP to be immediately removed from the territory. There are worries tonight about shortages in our healthcare system hindering the recovery of patients. The family of one BC senior in hospital is eager for him to be home, but as Valpuri reports, they aren't sure he'll have a family doctor once he's discharged.
When Siegfried Garbers leaves hospital, his daughter has no idea what will happen.
He's not able to live on his own anymore.
The 78-year-old's home is on the Sunshine Coast. His daughter's is on the Lower Mainland. Post-hospital care for her dad is paramount.
I do have a family doctor. However, he's not taking any more patients at the current time, so nowhere to go. I'm lost for ideas, answers.
The big question is, where does Siegfried Garbers go once he's discharged? Back to the Sunshine Coast, where he has a family doctor, but no family, or stay here with his daughter and essentially have no access to primary care.
Joelle Bradley trained as a family doctor, but now works only in hospitals treating inpatients with an array of different conditions.
It currently is just extremely scary for me when I discharge patients who don't have a primary care physician.
In a letter to 4 government MLAs, Bradley says after hospital, patients need medications adjusted, lab tests monitored, and so many other services best provided by family doctors.
They need to be respected and they need to be supported to do the work that they love, and they're actually specialists in their own kind of care.
Bradley fears without family doctors, thousands of patients will simply show up at emergency rooms.
And the problem with that is we're in a place right now where my emergency room and my hospital is at absolute record overcapacity.
In many cases, overcapacity and understaffed. Crystal Garber says her dad isn't getting the physio he needs to be mobile enough to go home.
They're so short-staffed that he's not able to have it on a regular basis, on the daily basis, what he needs to get out of the hospital.
Fraser Health failed to provide a response by deadline. In the meantime, Garbers is looking for a private physiotherapist to treat her father while he's in hospital.
I just want to do everything that I possibly can for my dad.
Belpuri, CBC News, New Westminster.
Another major traffic disruption this morning, this time old-growth logging protesters blocking the Lionsgate Bridge. Traffic slowly moving along the bridge before 8 this morning. Members of Save Old Growth, that protest group, blocked lanes for commuters. The demonstration was cleared within a few hours, but not before causing plenty of frustration for drivers getting out of their vehicles. 2 people were arrested for mischief and intimidation. Sea to Sky buses are back on the road today, coming off the longest transit strike in BC's history. This, of course, is a relief to public transit riders who say the strike impacted their lives.
When you can't get somewhere, when you're used to getting somewhere, it makes a difference.
If you're going from the Highlands to Valleycliff and Squamish, that's a long walk. So it's not that easy.
I come from downtown. It's very challenging. I need to rent a taxi. It's expensive. So.
Residents in the region had to make do without buses on the road since late January. Many have said they had to resort to walking long distances, riding taxis, or even hitchhiking. Last week, a deal to end the strike was reached between BC Transit and the union representing Sea to Sky bus drivers. Unifor says the new deal includes wage increases, pension plan improvements, and benefit coverage for part-time workers. And members of the BC Government Employees Union, or BCGEU, say they are celebrating a big win after a nearly 95% vote in favor of striking. The union represents more than 30,000 BC public sector employees, including wildfire firefighters, social workers, sheriffs, and corrections staff, as well as cannabis and liquor stores. Members say they want a fair contract, including cost of living protections. Negotiations are ongoing. BC's top doctor says she expects kids under 5 could be getting their COVID shots as early as July. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry says she expects Health Canada to issue a recommendation on the Moderna vaccine within the next couple of weeks. Henry says data from Pfizer has not yet been submitted, so expect that recommendation to be delayed. The federal government is reversing course on a plan to phase out fish farms near the Discovery Islands. Operators in the area will be given 2-year license renewals. The move comes after a federal court judge said the Fisheries Department had breached procedural fairness to the operators in its decision to phase out their farms. The Fisheries Minister says the government remains committed to transitioning away from open-pen salmon aquaculture and that it plans to hold consultation on how to transition. After 3 years and millions of dollars of money spent on consultation, Vancouver City Council could vote tonight on a massive plan to bring 50,000 more people into the Broadway corridor. Council has been debating the plan for much of the day and is set to continue into this evening. The corridor runs from Clark Street to Arbutus and 1st to 16th Avenues. Mixed-use towers up to 40 stories may be allowed near SkyTrain stations as the Millennium Line is extended. Opponents are concerned the new development could displace residents and not provide more affordable housing. Supporters argue it will provide a lot more housing. Several amendments have been proposed, including killing the plan until after the October municipal elections, but councillors voted that down. The federal government has suspended funding for Hockey Canada. The fallout over a sex assault settlement is next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A young boy from Ganawage has already decided on his career path, professional wrestling. The twist in this story is he's actually met his wrestling hero who lives in the same community. Ganasio Deer from CBC Indigenous tells us how the two formed a charming friendship.
And what's that move called?
It's called the punch in the face.
He's young, but Dane Fleischer has big dreams.
I like about wrestling because I want to fight once I get older.
The 6-year-old found out a local legend lives in his community, and the two have formed a special bond.
I want to thank you very much for your remembering me for my birthday.
Billy Two Rivers lives at the Cattery Memorial Hospital Center in Ganawage. The retired wrestler shares video messages with his young friend.
Thank you, Billy.
I got your picture.
I got your picture.
You know, he was like so excited to know that like a real wrestler, you know, lived here and that he's like so close to home.
Billy Two Rivers spent 24 years wrestling around the world. He turned heads with his headdress and beaded vest, But his signature look wasn't traditionally Ganyakahaga. His feathered bustle made for a challenging ring entry.
It was my first bout. I was like, just all nervous and shaky. As I got over my toe, got the top rope, and I ended up in the middle of the ring in a bunch of feathers.
We're only the second people to have them, so they're still new belts. So
they call themselves the Dad Bod Squad. Kyle Zachary and Sean Rice are the newest pro wrestlers from Kahnawake, and they've been influenced by Two Rivers' legacy.
For us, we're carrying a torch that hasn't been carried in 50 years. So we're carrying the community on our back when we go into the ring every time.
He's almost like a hidden gem type of thing. Like, you would never think that someone, accomplished all those things from Kahnawake, from a small community in Quebec.
The wrestler picks them up on the back.
Like his hero, this, for now, tiny grappler hopes to make a big impact on fans when he one day enters the ring as the Great Dane. Geneseo Deer, CBC Indigenous, Kahnawake.
Ottawa is freezing funding to Hockey Canada, at least temporarily. The bombshell announcement comes a day after Hockey Canada executives appeared on Parliament Hill to explain their handling of an alleged sexual assault by junior hockey players. Jonathan Gatehouse now with why Ottawa is taking this dramatic step.
The whole management of the situation that is totally inappropriate.
The sports minister made no effort to hide her displeasure with Hockey Canada after MPs grilled leadership on Monday and got few of the answers they were seeking.
I don't have it right in front of me, and I apologize for that, and I don't know the number for sure, and I apologize for that.
I don't have in front of me the total amount that we've spent.
I apologize for my memory. I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear a guess.
At issue, a lawsuit brought by a woman who alleges she was the victim of a gang sexual assault by 8 unnamed junior hockey players in 2018.
I've decided to suspend any future public funding until they meet 2 very simple but important conditions.
The first, a demand that Hockey Canada share what little its outside investigators were able to learn about the alleged incident. The second, that the organization sign on to a new independent national body created to investigate all types of abuse in sport, an agreement St. Ange says would help end a culture of sexual violence within Hockey Canada. What's not clear is whether the power play against the country's biggest sporting organization is going to work. Hockey Canada, already facing a federal audit, didn't respond to requests for comment today. Financial statements obtained by CBC News show Hockey Canada got $14 million from Ottawa over the past 2 fiscal years. A relatively small amount for an organization that's sitting on $153 million in cash and investments. Still, this expert hailed Ottawa's tough talk.
This minister is really putting sport organizations' feet to the fire. Delighted that she has made such a commitment to address safe sport issues and is holding everyone accountable.
The oversight body, called Abuse Free Sport, started taking complaints on Monday. Only a handful of federations have signed on. Even if St. Ange doesn't succeed in bringing Hockey Canada to heel, the message to other, more government-dependent sporting federations is clear. Get with the program or risk being left out in the financial cold. Jonathan Gatehouse, CBC News, Toronto.
To travel now, if your flight is delayed or canceled within Canada, you'll soon have more protections. Starting in September, airlines will have to refund or rebook passengers, but only if the delay is more than 3 hours and outside the air carrier's control. The new regulations will let travelers choose, get their money back or get another flight within 48 hours. And anger and frustration are boiling over at passport offices across the country. If you're lining up to get a passport, you can expect to go back repeatedly. Karen Pauls shows us about the chaos and what's being done about it.
For the second time this week, police monitored the crowds outside Quebec passport offices. On Monday, officers were called to keep the lineup under control in Montreal.
They're calling on cops to people that are waiting because we are quote-unquote disturbing people apparently, which we don't.
Someone has to come here and make changes because it's only going to get worse. These people have no idea what they're doing. They don't care about us. We're treated like less than animals.
Quebec's public security minister describes it as a national crisis and says Ottawa has to fix it.
They have to take their responsibility. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable.
The situation actually has improved in Montreal today.
The federal minister says there is a new system in place.
Handing out tickets with appointments either for today or tomorrow.
But in Montreal, that system was at capacity by 9:15 this morning. Those waiting will have to return.
Let me show you how I was able to get my Canadian passport after only 2.5 hours of waiting.
This woman booked a discount flight from Vancouver to Edmonton, where she snagged an appointment at the passport office.
I came in at 1:30 and I walked out with my passport at 3:55.
Experts say travelers who don't get their passports in time may be compensated for out-of-pocket expenses, but
what it doesn't compensate anybody for is the lack of a holiday, the lack of attending a wedding, the lack of getting to a family that you haven't seen for 2 or 3 years.
In an interview airing this weekend on CBC Radio 1's The House, the Prime Minister says something must be done.
And we have to step up. Like, we hired hundreds more passport officers around Christmas time because we knew this was potentially coming, but it's worse than we expected.
Back in Montreal, Yasmin Ayesh and her 4 children are hoping to visit family in Jordan for the first time in 5 years. They're supposed to leave tomorrow, but still don't have their passports or an appointment.
They're like, we're done with our tickets. They're not giving out any tickets. They're not seeing anyone anymore for passports.
And how has this whole experience been for you?
Absolutely dreadful.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Kalquadalam.
From Musquodoboit Harbor to Ucluelet. In my line of work, you have to be able to pronounce place names, but a BCer playing football in Florida had his teammates try to pronounce his home city. A challenge that is Coquitlam. Next.
Well, I have 3 sons. I'd love to have a daughter.
Corey Mulder and her companions could be classified as very expectant mothers. In fact, they have great expectations in their quest to adopt orphaned Romanian babies and bring them home. The women are taking along medical supplies, baby formula, clothes, and toys for the orphanage that they'll be visiting.
My husband and I have been waiting here for 8 years, and I think we waited long enough, and this is the closest we've ever come to adopting a child. And we're also going over there to, help out as well, not just to go over there and adopt a child, but to be able to help in the orphanages or wherever we're needed.
The group is not too concerned about Romania's current political turmoil. They feel that the changes in that country will actually improve their chances of bringing home the babies.
It seems like things are opening up more now, and with the government, it seems to be a little calmer over there, so hopefully it'll work, the paperwork will be possible.
Hans Meldur will be playing the role of Mr. Mum to his 3 sons while his wife is away in Romania looking for that new baby girl.
So now we have to wait 5 weeks, so it's going to be a little tough on both sides, but we're very excited about it.
What would you like, a baby boy or baby girl?
Boy.
Why is that?
I don't know.
You already have 2 brothers. Wouldn't you like a baby sister?
No.
Your mummy's going away to bring home another baby. What do you think of that?
Good.
It's good, is it? What would you like, a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Family partings can be emotional, but a month passes swiftly. And by that time, with some good fortune, the Melder family could have their new baby girl. Terry Dolan, CBC News at the Vancouver International Airport.
Johanna is off this week. Amy Bell joins us now with the forecast. And like I said earlier, you're bringing the good news.
I know.
I'm feeling the heat.
It's coming. It's coming. Just wait a couple of days. Yes, we finally got into the sunshine this afternoon and just put a spring in everybody's step, and everybody seemed to be in a better mood. And we're going to continue with that for the next several days, with the weekend being especially warm. Tomorrow, though, is a bit of a transition day, and we do, in fact, still have a risk of some intense thunder and lightning activity in areas such as the West Kootenays, the West Columbia, North Thompson area, and the Shuswap. So we'll watch that for the next couple of hours especially. But yeah, for tomorrow, we're in great shape. We're going to see lots of sunshine right from Vancouver Island all the way through to Fraser Valley. A little bit of cloud in the morning, but nothing too severe, and then brightening and opening right up to blue sky. Temperatures in the high teens to low 20s. We will still see unsettled weather, though, for Dease Lake and Prince Rupert. Port Hardy also still dealing with some drizzle, especially tomorrow morning. And then Williams Lake, you'll see some showers in the morning, but brightening up by tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday is when we really get into the heat, and we'll see that ridge of high pressure bringing sunshine and warm, hot temperatures, in fact, across the province for the weekend. For us, we're looking at 22 inland tomorrow to 26 on Friday. And for the weekend, we'll get up to about 28 inland on Saturday, 31 on Sunday. That will be the hottest one, but just a little bit warmer on Monday. By Tuesday, though, we will see things settling down a little bit. So make sure you've got all that sunscreen and water, and check on people and get into the shade, because it's going to be a big transition. We've been dealing with such cooler temperatures and wet weather all month long. So suddenly we're just jumping right into summer and getting into very warm territory. So enjoy.
For sure. You know, you're going to have people who get the bad sunburns. They're not ready for it. This is your warning.
And they are going to complain it's too hot, but you know what? We'll get through it. It'll be lovely.
For sure. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
Okay, BC's Javon Holland has been making a splash in the NFL, playing for the Miami Dolphins. He's the son of former BC Lion John Robert Holland, and he's not shy when it comes to showing his Canadian pride. Recently, he challenged his teammates to pronounce the name of his Lower Mainland hometown. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Javon Holland, and this is Pronouncing People's Hometowns.
Coquitlam, British Columbia.
No, I'm not reading that one.
I don't know what that is. I'm not even gonna try that one. Coquitlam.
Coquitlam?
Coquitlam.
Coquitlam, British Columbia.
Coquitlam, British Columbia. Coquitlam, British Columbia? Who from there?
Coquitlam, British Columbia. Shout out to the hometown. You dig?
Shout out to Coquitlam. There are a few players who actually got it right, but of course we're not showing you those ones. I feel it though. I know what it's like to try to pronounce cities that you don't know at all. My favorite is a colleague, not a city, but favorite mispronunciation, ZZ Top. She never lived that one down, of course. Thanks for watching CBC Vancouver News tonight. I will be off our show for the next month while on other assignments. You'll be in great hands with Dan Burrett and Leanne Young. Good night.